Alright, and welcome back. What we've got here today is a Jacaranda tree. This is actually my introduction to bonsai. This is a seed kit. I did grow this from seed from December of 2018. This is a seed kit my daughter Danielle got me. Definitely put me down in a rabbit hole of a new hobby, but I am enjoying myself with it, as you can probably tell. But it was one of these seed kits that had it had the Jacaranda, it had two different kind of pine trees, and then it had a ficus tree in there too. I did not get the ficus seeds to germinate at all. I got 4 of these to germinate. This one, I have one out in the yard, which I'm just going to kind of pause here for a second, or just kind of keep talking, and I'm going to throw in the video here of what that tree's looking like out in the yard. That was, I'm going to try to include the pictures, the old pictures of the starting pictures or whatever. That was 2 together. I planted out in the yard, and I noticed the one just was overcrowded in small ones, so I actually just kind of broke the other one off. If this one ever turns out to like bloom in a pot, I think, these are like supposedly one of the worst bonsai that just like won't, the leaves won't reduce. People try and they just won't, so I'm not even going to bother trying. That's one leaf. It's like with the rain tree. The rain tree has compound leaves, but these have compound leaves, but then, that is just one leaf. That's not a branch. And they won't reduce, they won't get any smaller. But, I have been successful keeping it alive in here in the pot. If I ever get this to bloom in the pot, well, then I might just go ahead out there and maybe chop that one in the yard down and try to get that in the pot and see what I can do with that. But for now, I'll just leave that one going out there. But anyway, I shoot these in the morning, and every afternoon when it gets hot, I go to just edit them and kind of relax in the air conditioning and edit them and everything. And I realized I forgot all kinds of things I was supposed to say, so I do have some notes I'm gonna kind of work with today a little bit. But this is the front, and you see the trunk. There's a big scar right here where I chopped it. I think that was the 2nd year. This would now be heading into the 3rd year or whatever. I think that was halfway through last year. Nothing ever really happened up top there. It really does. The lignified wood or the harder wood gets really hard. I've tried to hit that with my concave cutters. I might have to carve it one day, but now you can see, all of this, like this was not, this is all just this year. This was down to here over this winter. And this is growing pretty strong, so it may start growing strong enough to just kind of overtake the scar there or whatever. Anyway, this is the back side. It's got the eye-poking branch, which is one of the reasons why you don't want it as the front. And then, I will just kind of show that scar there. Hopefully, you guys see it. Yeah, you can kind of see just how big that is there. There you go. But anyway, hopefully this outgrows that scar one day. And we'll just see how it goes, give it some time. That's all it takes. I do see, oh sorry, I forgot to zoom back out. I do see when people, post them, like, oh, I got my seeds to grow, and, what do I do with this Jacaranda? And sometimes people say, well, you should pinch them. And then people say, well, what do you mean by pinching it? Well, here, I almost was going to take this whole branch out earlier. I haven't yet. I still might. It's not coming off the trunk. It's actually coming off of this one. But you can see where they just kind of grow straight up, and each leaf will come off. This is actually, I guess, what would you call the branch or whatever they grow. If I had, I'll talk about the guy wires here in a minute, but I'm going to stick with the pinching for a second. But, and it just grows up, gets 2 leaves, and then opposite, and then opposite. And you can see right there, let's see if I can do this a little bit. There we go. See right there, it's just got, the new growth comes out, got 2 leaves there, and then it's got 2 more there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pinch that little piece off there. And now, if it's growing really strong out of that spot, it'll get 2 more branches. Right here, I've pinched this year. Right here, I've pinched this year, but it wasn't growing that strong out of that spot, so it only has 1 coming out there. Actually, you can see where I pinched it right here, and it only continued on one branch. But let's see if I'm gonna have to change the angle here a little bit on this one, or I'll just pick it up and pull it up there. You see here, I pinched it right here not too long ago, probably about a month ago, and this is, this is the leader, and so it had strong enough growth. Now it's got two more, and you can see there where now it's coming up. If I were to pinch it again, because that is the leader, it would grow another couple more out of there. But really, how much more branching can I use just up that high? I'm actually even thinking by next year I'm probably going to wind up maybe even hacking this down to like there. I would like to let it maybe run a little bit. I wasn't planning on pinching that at all, but it was getting so tall so quick. I didn't want it to get out of proportion with itself all that much just yet. So I did pinch it the one time. I do plan on chopping it down, so I'm not too worried about getting more ramification up there. Sometimes I wonder if I should be chopping these. I do have these here, are guy wires that I kind of pulled down. These would all be just straight up. If I didn't have the guy wires, actually it would be straight up. It'd be all together, and they'd all just be reaching straight up. But so I pulled these off to the side, and they do hold once you get it down there, and this lignifies. Lignifying is just where it goes from being kind of like a plant to where it's a piece of wood, and they do hold. So I would like to today I'm going to go ahead and wire these up a little bit. I'm going to wire these two branches together, and then I'm going to wire the leader and this one that I just pinched, in the hope, because I was going to take it off because I thought it was kind of trying to take over a little bit. It was almost, you can see it was almost getting as tall as the leader. I think when I pinched the leader, that slowed that down enough to where this just sprouted there out of the side. But I'm going to wire it and the leader together, and if anything happens, like, like if it breaks, it might even break, I'll leave it on camera. I did say I'm a beginner, and I don't mind hiding, or I don't mind showing you guys when I make a mistake, but I'm going to try to take it out about like that when I'm done wiring it. The sun is strong enough here, here in Florida, where it'll find the sun and continue up. And, sometimes if you're living up north or whatever, you always have to, they say you got to point the branches up. I'm finding down here, they'll figure it out. They'll find the sun is strong enough. It goes right up there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I do have, this is 2.5 millimeter wire. I probably should have 3. I've got some 2.5, and I've got some 3.5. I don't have any 3 to work with right now. I ran out. I would like a little bit bigger. I don't live too far from Bonsai Nursery, but I go up there planning on spending 20 bucks on wire, and I walk out of there with 4 or 5 plants and 2 or 3 super expensive pots that I don't really even have trees good enough for yet. But this should work. I mean, sometimes if the wire's a little bit thicker and you leave it on a little too long, it won't really grow in so much, but when the wire's thin, it really will kind of go in. I don't think I'll be able to leave this on too long. This grows so quickly this time of year. I did want to kind of mention when I was saying that all of this was all new growth this year. In the winter down here, like I do, again, just for the beginners out there, especially the people up north that have to keep this inside, keep one of these inside over the winter. You'll notice it'll get sickly. I mean, down here they lose all their leaves. I mean, it's not really considered deciduous, but in December, late December, early January, they just kind of lose all their leaves. And like almost every year, I even look and I think like, oh boy, this thing's not going to make it or whatever. It just they just they don't fall, like, we don't have really a fall here or whatever, but it just loses all the leaves and looks sick. And then, like first week of February, second week of February, it just springs back to life. Now, here it is to the end of June. It just started our rainy season. We had our first good rain yesterday in a long time. But with the rainwater and the plenty of sunlight, it really does grow very quick. So I will, if I remember, I'm going to include a link down in the description today. It's I got a haircut. When I keep it nice and short, you don't really notice how much it's thinning. But my friend, I didn't want to mention my friend Gary Ole. He's been watching a couple of my videos, and he said my head got in there, and he's surprised at how old I'm looking these days. And I just tell him, thanks a lot, buddy. But anyway, I'm going to include a link down in the description. It's a guy named Colin Lewis. It's a wiring tutorial. It's what I refer to. I've watched the thing like 20 times. I watch it, wire a couple trees, realize my mistakes, and I've watched it again. Page, you have to set up an account, but that's like a free video, and then you got the option to pay for more if you want. But so far, all I've really needed is that free one. I mean, you can go further if you want. I'm not trying to put my trees in a show or anything like that. I'm just trying to learn what to do. But you do wrap things, the two branches together, and you make sure you go the same direction. Like when I cross the trunk here, I'm going to wrap it around the trunk. That's actually what's anchoring it together. The two branches are anchoring together, but then the trunk is also anchoring. And so I came up and around that way, so now I'm going to come up and around that way. Make sure you go the same direction on each branch. And just kind of... And if you've been watching my videos, and you say, well, didn't he just say he doesn't defoliate? Because my last video, well, depending on what order I edit these in, but my last video I did take all the leaves off of a ficus tree. And the time I did wire a ficus, I did have it, ficus completely different. I left it wrapped a little loose. When I go to bend it, I'm either going to cut that or go ahead and just kind of leave it loose there. It's not that big of a deal. I'm the only one that sees them anyway, so. And then, so I'm going to do the leader, and this one that I just pinched off of there. Remember, that's just pinching the very top off. And then I do have the last one. I said was the back branch. As a matter of fact, I might even go ahead and take this guy wire and pull that down right now. I'm just kind of get that a little bit further out of harm's way for me while I'm wiring it. You can see now the the tips of those branches are now facing right at the camera. But like I said, the sun is strong enough here. It'll figure out where to go. It'll outgrow that really quick. Just like these two did. These two were pointing straight down at one point or whatever. But I'm gonna wire the leader and this guy up. Now, one of the things. I hope I made that long enough. One of the things you want to try to avoid crossing wires as much as possible. This is going to be kind of hard because this is a branch coming off of this branch. But then after that, I want to get it on the trunk, and I want to have it go up the trunk and follow, obviously, the leader up. So what I might do is probably... keep it from crossing there. I think I'm going to have to cross it once. I was going to try to avoid crossing. If you have forks, if you watch the video that I'm going to put in the description below or whatever, if you have forks, you have other decisions to make, or ways that you can run the wire together without overlapping it. But since I'm crossing branches here, I think I'm going to have to cross it once. I mean, it doesn't have to be rocket science. And, that'll actually even be crossing like in the quote-unquote back part of the tree anyway, so it wouldn't really be visible if you were trying to look at it. I'm going to wrap it up this smaller branch just enough to give it a little stability. And then I'm going to shoot for the leader here. The leader, and it's all green. You can see it's just turning a little bit woody right in there, but it's all green. And I want to be careful I don't snap it, but I also don't really want it just straight. I'd like to get a little graceful bend to it. If I can get enough of a bend in there, I might keep it next year and not chop it off like I was talking about. But let's see. Again, because this is green wood, really trying to not make it super tight. I do want to keep the coils close enough together to get some bend. And let's see. That should work out pretty well. A little extra there too. And now I'll finish doing this little small branch. Again, not nearly as concerned with the health of this small branch, especially since I was considering cutting it off. But that should work out well too. And then when I do watch, when I watch other people's YouTube videos on wiring trees and stuff, they say that you should wire it up before doing any bending. I don't really follow that rule all the time, but I do it most of the time. It does seem to work out best. Just if you're trying to, I mean, this tree is not going to be an issue, but if you're doing a ficus tree where you had like a lot of ramification in there or whatever, you want to try to fill up the negative space, and sometimes it's hard to tell where that negative space is going to be until you get the other branches bent. But try, I said I had these held down. You can even see right there, there's like a bend where it just goes up. That's where the guy wire was hanging right there. So I like to get maybe a little more side to side in there because it is just straight out of the side. And then down here at the end, maybe down just a little more so it's just not so obvious where that one guy wire was. So I'm going to try, and since this is the front of the tree, you'd like to kind of have it, everything visible to the viewer of the tree. So I'm going to try to put the side to side towards the front a little, and then just go ahead and make it down a little more too, and then back, and I just broke it. And so you probably heard the snap when I broke it. And coming back was a little bit braver than I really wanted to be, but I'm going to put it back right to where it snapped, and it fit together nicely. And as long as I leave it alone, it should be fine. I did get a little more movement to it. Too bad it snapped when I was on the way back, because that would have been a little bit more. But I'll just leave that like it is, and hopefully it heals up. If not, I mean, it'll grow a new leader, or not a new leader, but a new branch there, I think. And then I'm going to try to do the same thing over here, but I'll be a little bit more careful. And that is, try to bend it forward a bit, down a little more, and instead of doing the back this time, I think I'll just do an up just a little bit, and I'll try that. So no snapping on that one. And then this leader, you got the main trunk going up. The only real movement in that is where the big scar is, where it kind of comes off the side. It's all green. I know this will snap. I've actually, I'm going to do a video on a acacia tree soon and talk about some branches that'll snap. When I said that I'd like to get some more graceful movement to it, as I'd actually like to have it come like this and then kind of go up. And the sun, I do believe I'm going to let the wire, because I just kind of tested a little, and yeah, I do not want to snap this side. I think the sun will kind of finish the rest of that up. And when I take the wire off, it'll just always follow the sun up. And then this guy, I could almost use a guy wire to do this, but I'd just like to have it out just like that. And anytime you take a tree like this, right when you first get it wired up, you can see now it actually really doesn't look all that great or whatever, but that was all for the future. Quick enough growth on this. I think maybe 3-4 weeks. I'll do another update and let you guys know how it turned out, especially this little branch that I snapped here. And be sure to like and subscribe.